Hello there, and welcome to Sweet Shot of Time. I'm your host, Steve Barnes. Today we're talking about Wheel of Time, Episode 2, A Question of Crimson. And we'll talk about that crimson in just a second when we bring in our co-host. He's from the Marshland Media Empire. He is the Marshland Monster, but he's colloquial, something. James McCullum, ahoy there, James.
Ahoy, find water and shade. We finally got, is this the first episode that's been said?
I think it might be, like, they've said it here and there, but yeah, they say it so plain. I was like, I really hope James heard them say that and was like welcomed by those words.
Well, because this is the thing. I, for the longest time, have been like, I don't think this, when does this come up in Wheel of Time?
Well, I guess starting now, since we're really getting into that, because so far we've only met like Avienda, and we've only seen like, glimpses here and there. And then we've met these other two characters, Bane and Chiad. Mm-hmm. Now, like, looking ahead to the very end of this episode, we're about to meet like a whole bunch of Aiel. So we're going to be watering and shading it all over the place, James, starting now.
We also met Rand's mom for a little bit.
Rand's mom for a little. Oh, are you talking about the queen? Who's Rand's mom?
Rand's mom.
Okay.
She was the fighting Aiel that got stabbed real hard, right? And she was pregnant, had to have it on the battlefield in flashback.
Sure. Did you know that because you figured it out, or did I spoil all that for you?
We've had a full discussion about this, Steve.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is like in the Wheel of Time sphere, I need to take a pin real quick because like today is March 25th. James has just watched episode 2, and that's as far as he's gotten so far. Yeah, now we're discussing things that are in the Wheel of Time sphere where people on Reddit are starting to guess who Rand's mom is.
We've met her.
There's all these spoiler tags, and people are like not revealing who it is because they don't want to spoil anything for like people who just watched the show. And yeah, the hints have been there all along.
This is like Insane Clown Posse on the 6 Jokers card saying it's all about God. Everything was there, but I'm guessing, are people not revealing the name and her status? Or like even saying like, oh, we don't know. She's never been a part of Wheel of Time, the TV show yet.
Yeah, like allegedly it's still this big mystery that they're doling out little hints here and there. And the biggest hint was doled out in this episode. And you, of course, picked it up, right?
No, the biggest hint was when we saw his dad in a flashback with the crane blade. Like, this has all been, we discussed this in like season 2 early on, I thought.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's just blowing my mind because I was going to try to like play a little bit coy here because I know we had that discussion, but then I was like, is that something that I spoiled for James or did he figure out himself?
There's nothing to spoil. You see the crane blade, and then you see a man with a red-headed baby, and then, oh, whoa, this man who doesn't have red hair has this, and he has the blade? Oh, I wonder wonder what this could mean.
Well, yeah, and we'll delve a little deeper into their family history because we're going to talk about it when we see some other 2 redhead women talking later in this episode, but yeah, James, how did you Rand's mom aside, how are you enjoying like the introduction of some of these new redheaded characters?
I mean, I don't like these new redheaded characters, but like for story purposes, it's all good.
Yeah, that's right. We got a red queen now. Like throughout history, that's what I was like Googling a lot right before we started talking. I was trying to get my head in the Wheel of Time game, and I was remembering Morgase. That's the first scene that we see in this episode is Queen Morgase invites her enemies that she has just defeated into her hall and makes them swear allegiance to her, like reluctantly. And then after they do, she stabs them and like leaves their dead bodies on the floor while everybody says, long live the queen. And it looks super evil, right? I mean, what was your thoughts about this scene?
Yeah, I was like, whoa, that older teen just stabbed that younger teen through the throat. What? Because, yeah, there was one of the heads of the houses looked like, I don't know, maybe 16 years old. Then a 19-year-old stabs her in the neck.
Yeah, I think that was like an inner house betrayal right there.
I mean, all of these are inner house betrayals.
Right. But like, the three women that kneeled down and like gave allegiance, like the younger one looked like she was killed by somebody within her own house, just like you said. And then the older woman with the cane, she and her supplicant were both killed. And then the other woman who looked like she was like really like, kind of angrily agreeing with things. She looked kind of like Middle Eastern, perhaps. She and her underling were also killed too. So I think it's just like that younger guy is the one who betrayed his own house and killed his own sister.
Well, I mean, all of them betrayed their own house. That's the impression I got was these are the heads of the house. The queen wants them gone, so there won't be another uprising. So the next in line are going to be like, well, you won't need to worry about us if we can be heads of the house. And how do we do that? We just kill our matriarchs.
Right. Speaking of matriarchs, too, like this is a real woman-dominated society here. These are all women that are kneeling before the queen. And this is Queen Morgase, and like we see like two little boys skirting around. We meet them later. That's Galad and Gawain, her sons. She's pregnant right now while this beheading is happening. She's pregnant with Elaine, who's like our friend, like the redheaded Elaine. Elaine is the one who's going to be queen. She's not even born yet. Like the crown is skipping the two boys and going right to the woman. So this is like the Aes Sedai are in control. The queen is in control, and all these houses are ruled by the women of the houses.
Is that part's book accurate? This is in the book, correct?
No. This is just this is a complete surprise to me and everyone else.
Wait, no. I mean, the dynamic structure of civilization within this world is that way. And wow, people are now calling the TV show woke. Man, these people are idiots. Like, just women. Oh, her name's Morgase. I bet this show's gonna give us more gays. And like,
good one.
People are idiots, man. Like, you're reading this book that is like so woman focused, and then it's like, oh, why are these women so strong in this TV show? And it's like, didn't you just read 13? How long are each books, like page-wise?
Geez, I think on average 800 pages.
800, and there's like 15 books, 13?
14.
You read like 10,000 pages, and you're like, yeah, I didn't understand any of the themes of the book.
I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the book, though, is that like you have like so many different characters that you're in the point of view of. You jump into the point of view of some of these new characters, like you get to be inside their heads. So, if you're a terrible person, you're going to find one of these characters that you can identify with.
Yeah, I guess. I guess since I haven't read the books, I don't know. It's just wild.
Yeah, and this scene was wild to me, too. This is show-only stuff that this whole scene happened at the beginning, but I mean, I love it. It shows the ruthlessness of Elydia. She's like the Aes Sedai advisor to the queen. And I think they mentioned later on that like the queen of ANDOR always has a red Aja Aes Sedai. So it's like the queen is like a red queen through and through. Cersei Lannister style. That's what Heather was saying, because Cersei Lannister is a famous red queen in Game of Thrones who has golden lions adorning herself, and it's very same for same here.
Just like in Resident Evil, that AI girl, the Red Queen.
I looked up Red Queen today trying to find like the basis, the history of the Red Queen, and I just found so much stuff I couldn't discern, what the actual first Red Queen was. Kind of points to like Queen Elizabeth or Queen Elizabeth Bathory. Some people say it just came from like the legend of Alice in Wonderland, but we certainly don't give Red Queens like a fair shake. They seem pretty evil through and through.
Well, I see where your alliance is leading, because from your shirt, you're wearing a goddamn lion shirt.
No, this is the opposite of a lion shirt.
Oh.
This is a wolf. This is the Stark, who is the enemy of the Lannisters, the Reds. So like,
all right.
That's the exact opposite, man. I'm Team Black all the way.
All right, well, I don't know anything about Game of Thrones. I was going to try and be cool and be like, yes, this is very Red Wedding-esque, this intro.
My two guitars are red. I only have red guitars, so that says something about me right there.
It's because you love bullfighting while slamming that axe.
That's right. They come charging at the guitar, makes that big going reverb sound on it.
Well, no, you run away, like you evade them, Steve.
No, I'm trying to get them to hit the guitar to make cool sounds. That's my style. You know, I'm avant-garde.
All right. Well, is Andor a real place? Because how come in so much fantasy and sci-fi just Andor is there?
I don't know. I was wondering that too. And
I'll look it up.
Yeah, you look it up. While you're looking that up, I'm going to remind you, and the listeners maybe, if they didn't notice, last episode 1, we saw a lot of flirtation happening between Elaine and Avienda. And part of the flirtation was Avienda was following Elaine through Tarvalon, through the town, just kind of keeping an eye on her, maybe stalking her perhaps. But she spies Elaine giving some letters to a horsed rider. And Elaine tells the rider, you know, take one to the queen and the other one goes to, I can't remember where the other one went to, I'm going to be honest. But this is why the queen shows up at Tarvalon later on, because Elaine sent that letter to the queen letting her know, hey, I was kidnapped, and all this other kind of stuff that freaked Morgase out. So back to James. We're going to see if James has anything on if Andor is an actual place or if it just exists in fantasy universes.
So there are things like Andoria types, that stuff, but my only thing, it goes back to Tolkien, of course, is what it seems like. But there's an Andor in Star Trek. There's one in, of course, Star Wars, Wheel of Time, The Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers, Thunder Agents. There's a lot. But I wonder if it's just like you get it from the grammatical conjunction and/or. Maybe that I don't know.
That seems so obvious, yeah.
But why would that be? Like, is it like in Numenor or Andor? Why would he say it's Andor? What kind of weird literary thing could be like, yes, and I use that because of this. And then people are like, well, we just take everything from Tolkien and it's free use, I guess.
I like what you said about how, like, if you look at the word itself, it is 2 words, and or. And it sounds proper when you say it. It starts with a vowel, which is important, and it ends with an OR, which gives it like that kind of like masculine ending to it. So it has like a real punch to the word itself. And the word itself is like a choice, and or. You can go either way. It's neutrality. That's kind of fits in with the Red Queen as well. That might be why they named the place. Robert Jordan had the Red Queen, Morgase, in Andor, because this is something I was just reading about earlier today. There's something called the Red Queen hypothesis, and it's based on the Red Queen from Alice in Wonderland. But the hypothesis is that the Red Queen will always be evolving one step ahead of everyone else in order to stay relevant, in order to stay in control. So staying the same is not an option. Doing things the same way is not an option. You have to always constantly be changing. And I don't know if that fits in with Andor or not, but in my mind, it makes a slight connection.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that I can read is like people criticize the use. It's very weird. And or is there's on the Wikipedia page, there's criticisms for the use of it as being a phrase as ugly is what people say, but they say and or is, in quotes, a device or shortcut that damages a sentence and often leads to confusion or ambiguity, which like I feel at least in Numenor's where like the humans are from, right?
What do you mean? Where?
In Lord of the Rings?
I don't know. I don't know Lord of the Rings.
You don't know Lord of the Rings?
I mean, I've read it when I was a kid, but I never like got into it or dived into like the whole backstory.
Okay, so it's the civilization of men, and I feel there's got to be something about the Andor. If anyone who knows literary shit is listening, please let us know if you could be like, oh yes, that's why Andor is a terminology in all these fantasy things, is because Tolkien saw and or, and he's like, hey, I could just make that and it makes sense because of this and that.
Are you listening, Andrew? There's a guy that I work with now, Andrew, and we had a discussion at my desk yesterday about Andor and the Red Queen. So maybe he can shed some light. He's a smart fellow. So yeah, I'm going to move us over to Tar Valon. We got Elaine. She's peeking around and she overhears Viren and Leanne whispering in the hallways. And we get a lot of like whispering about this episode. And as they're kind of dressing Elaine down for spying on them or whatever they're doing, Queen Morgase arrives in Tar Valon. We can hear her song, like she blares her song on a jukebox or on a boombox when she appears in town. And she comes to visit the queen because, you know, she's got Elydia with her, who's an Aes Sedai, and Queen Morgase herself is accepted. She wears the accepted ring. She's not a full Aes Sedai, but she's been through the rings and she's gotten her accepted ring. And so just like any other Aes Sedai, she has to, you know, request to meet with the Armorillan seat at the hall. Mm-hmm. Armorillan makes her wait for, 10, 15 seconds or so, a few beats, just to kind of have a power move here and just to annoy the queen a little bit. So then we get a proper entrance for our new characters, James. A lot of times a character will just show up, but now we have a proper entrance for these characters, which probably clues you into the fact that we'll probably be seeing these people more often.
Yeah.
So I'll give a pause after each one to see if you have anything to say about any of them. Okay, so first up, we got Prince Galad, Elaine's brother. He's the straight-laced guy. He's real proper, and he's got the real trimmed-up beard.
Is he the real mean one?
He seems kind of more rigid than the other guy. I wouldn't say he's mean, but rigid, yeah.
Is he a douchebag? That's how I took him. Okay.
Yeah.
I would also consider mean and douchebag sometime being synonyms.
Okay, yeah, I didn't really see him being mean, but okay, then we got the other brother, Gawain. He's got the kind of floppy hair, and he's more laid back and chill, but he's an excellent swordsman, excellent prince.
Now that you're saying both of these, both names are used in Not Another D&D podcast by the DM Murph. I don't know if he's read Wheel of Time, though, so these are just fantasy names like Andor.
It's true, yeah, but if he's using both of them, Galad and Gawain, they're like, these are famous brothers that work together.
You're saying Galad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying Galad. Never mind. But Gawain...
I might have said that here and there, yeah.
Okay, because it's Galad and Gawain are used interchangeably. But I think one of them might have been named by another character, another player. So then it's just no one's reading Wheel of Time and somehow they're coming up with these names.
Everybody has a unique name somehow. All 6,000 of them have unique names. Yeah, after them, we get Lord Gabriel, the Prince Consort. Usually the Prince Consort is that means he's the guy who's fucking the queen, right?
Uh-huh.
And everybody likes this dude. Everybody's all smiles and digs him.
Yeah, at first I was like, is this person good or bad? Because they were like, who is this again? Oh, yes, that's how I introduce you. But maybe it's because it's do I call him Prince Consort? That seems kind of rude. But he's like, yeah, that's what I am.
Yeah, he owns it. Absolutely. Absolutely owns it. After him comes Elydia. I get the feeling she's the real power in the house here. She, has a real cold open, a real cold welcome from the rest of the sisters. She's the one in red that kind of talks like RFK Jr., right? That's the first thing I thought of when I heard her talking.
I wouldn't go that far. She just has a gravelly voice. I'd say more like Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, okay, yeah, absolutely, the Miley Cyrus voice. I think maybe Elydia might have lived through the LA wildfires as well, and that's what made her voice so gravelly. Or maybe just yelling a lot. I don't know.
Or, Miley Cyrus had that gravelly voice before the wildfires.
I really thought it was the smoke from wildfires that did her voice in. I honestly think that's true.
No, she even on Hannah Montana, which I was the correct age to watch this, Nicole. Nicole makes fun of me because I'm like, yeah, you watched that, right? And she's like, I was too old when that came out. Why did you watch that? I'm like, because I just watched all television on Nickelodeon. But even back then, she had a gravelly voice.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Caleb was a fan of Hannah Montana. He watched it, and then Charlotte watched the reruns. So I got to watch it twice. So I'm all about it.
You're too old to know about Hannah Montana. You're like, well, I was a dad, James. What's your excuse?
I'm old enough to know that Hannah Montana is the Nepo baby, but her dad is the one that actually really sucks. She's the one who has the talent in the family, it seems. Yeah, moving on past Elydia. Morgase walks in now. She, I don't know if you heard me say this earlier, but she is formally accepted. She's not an Aes Sedai, but she does wear the accepted ring. So she is an Aes Sedai as well.
Yeah, with this, I was like, can Aes Sedai just say, screw this and leave?
Yeah, we saw Egwene do that last episode. I think it's very much frowned upon, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, because she's like, oh, I have a kingdom to run. I need to leave. And it's like, why would you do that?
I mean, I would think it would be smart, like Elaine says later in the episode, to like be an Aes Sedai queen. That seems like a neat goal that Elaine has there that she can one up her mom with.
I do need to say one thing real quick. As they're coming into that great hall, there are people in front throwing out rose petals. They better also have someone at the end of this caravan sweeping up those rose petals. Because to make the, novices clean this up after, no,
That's total novice work, dude. What are you talking about? Hell yes,
No.
we're going to have the novices, forbid them from using the power, get out there and pick up each petal like one by one. Absolutely, that's the thing they would do to the novices.
I mean, yes, the Aes Sedai would do that, but
Yes.
as someone who is a guest in these hallowed halls of the White Tower, you better be like, well, we don't want to make them upset. They're all magic users. They could blow our heads up. Let's clean up these rose petals. Or, oh yeah, we're just going to make these novice whites do it. No, because still, those people will eventually have magic. And what if they end up becoming your right-hand man, like the representative? And then they're going to be like, yeah, you made me clean up those rose petals, you assholes.
I mean, they barely cleaned up the hall. You saw Eladia looking around and like there's still residue from their battle from last time around.
I saw that as more as there are still cracks, like they using magic, they made the pillars back together, but there's still cracks in it.
Oh, very metaphorical, James. I like this. Okay,
there's cracks in the tower.
I didn't see that. I just saw Eladia looking at it, like just clocking that information, like something happened here. They're not telling us what happened, but I can see the damage done.
So Steve is just now getting this, like he's just now getting that Rand's mom was that lady who was fighting his dad.
That's right. It took me 14 books to figure that out. And James got it after season 2.
14 books in 2 seasons plus some change.
A real power struggle of the mind, just like the power struggle within the tower. And the power of the word mother. They argue about that because they call the Amyrlin seat mother, but she's not really a mother that carried a child. So Morgase is trying to hold that over her head, but Siuan ain't having it. She's pretty tough through and through.
Here's my opinion. No gods, no mothers. Stop saying that word. Ugh. Mom's gross. Dad's All
right, we're going to move away from the tower. Get back to the boys. Rand and his crew, we get a glimpse of them like walking through the scenery. We got Rand, Lan, Moraine, Egwene, and Avienda, but we're not hanging out with them yet. We're going to skip right over to Perrin and his crew. They're coming through the Waygate. Got Perrin, Loyal, Bane, and Chaiad. Do you know Bane from Chaiad at this point?
No.
It's hard to tell. I think by design.
There's one that's more of a tall mommy than the other. Which one is the taller mommy? Then is it Bane?
Yes.
Okay, then I just know Bane from Batman is a tall daddy.
Okay.
So Bane in here is a tall mommy. That's it.
Yeah. I'm more of a Chaiad fan myself, like based on like the lines they give them and like the little catty looks that they give other people. Yeah, I'm more of a Chaiad fan here. I don't know if you have a tendency to lean one way or the other, but that's where I'm going.
Well, one now I refer to as a Batman character, so I think I like Bane more.
Once again, we're on the opposite sides here. That's fine. I like it. Yeah, Perrin comes through. He says, a man and a woman came through here. One set of footprints each, going this direction. Smells of ash. Loyal says, very prophetically, only dark friends would use the ways without an Ogier guide, which I thought was pretty significant stuff.
Yeah, especially because we find out, are you thinking these two are dark friends? They can't be.
I don't think they can be either. Like that, it's blowing my mind. It does not seem likely, but that's what Loyal said. I mean, we put 2 and 2 together. That's them. They're the man and the woman that came through the ways, and they admit they came through the ways. That's what they say. That's how they got there.
Unless the other people who would also use the ways without an Ogier would be people trying to search for dark friends not using an Ogier.
That's correct. Because I was going to say, we're only going by Loyal's words here. That's what Loyal said. In his perception, only a dark friend would use the ways without an Ogier.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is a lot of leadway here, but it does have my mind kind of burning. Like, are they going to turn out being Black Aja? I don't like the looks of that. But Loyal also tells us about the longing, like when you're away for too long and it's been a long time and you get this ache. The longing, you want to get back to the warm, damp forest from which you came. And it's some weird stuff here.
I don't think it was weird. It's nice.
It is nice. I was sitting beside my wife while they were doing this, and that's all she was talking about. She was like, he's got blue balls. The dude's got blue balls, and that's all he's talking about.
No, he has homesickness. What is your what is your what? That's something that I should be saying.
I know.
Not me saying like, yeah, well, it's homesickness. I should be saying he's got blue balls.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, I think Heather is trying to be the James in this situation here while we're watching Wheel of Time. Maybe she was giving me some fodder for jokes because it sure as hell worked. I didn't think about it that way. I was like listening to Loyal and I was like lost in just like you, lost in fantasy land. Like, oh, the Ogier need to get back to their steading. And then Heather points out the obvious parallel. And it seems like it smacks you in the face. Like once she said that, I was like, yeah, that's absolutely what it sounds like.
I'm going to say no. It still just sounds like homesickness, guys.
All right, James, the voice of reason, stand strong. All right, now that we were here for a little bit and we talked to Loyal and the ladies, we're going to move on back to Elaine, reunion with her family. She's hanging out with the boys here. We got, what's his name? Gawain lounging in the easy chair, kind of looking chill. And then you said Galad is kind of douchish. What were his douchish qualities to you?
He was saying that the formal whites were wretched sacks. He's saying, oh, you don't need to be here. Oh, these warders, they couldn't protect you. And it's like, she left of her own volition. Like, they clearly didn't get this full story of what happened, which might fuel, but they seem very much, we know what needs to be done and we know how to do it better than anyone else, when it's like, no, you don't. There was also a quote from the Queen in the flashback 20 years prior where she said, that war is over because I won it. And it's like, ugh, yucky. But yeah, like it's that kind of like royalty douchebaggery that I'm picking up on.
Yeah. It feels like they should be on the White Lotus, I think, with their with their richness here. Yeah, they talk about why they're there because Elaine, doesn't really know why they're there. That they think they're there just for a visit. But, Galad and the Prince Consort here kind of drop some hints as to why they're there. And it has a lot to do with Elaine that we'll find out. Yeah, I should have spaced this up so we just talk about one character in a chunk and then go character to character. But I like how we're going straight through the episode.
I was going to say, like, of course it's going to be about Elaine when a parent is going to the city and the location that this child now lives. But then I remembered, no, one of my parents would come to this city and just not see me. So
it does happen. Yeah. And like when that happens among family members, it can spurn some resentment. Like you were in my town and you didn't say hi. Yeah.
Well,
I get that.
Also when they say, hey, we made plans to hang out with you and then they just ghost you. That's when real resentment starts, baby.
Ooh, yeah. That's when you want to pull out that one power and give them a smack.
Uh-huh.
Well, let's see. We'll see little James here laying on the table, getting healed by Rima. Little James, I mean Matt. Because the reason I say that, James, I didn't clarify this. I'm just thinking this in my head. We met the Prince Consort. Let's see. Let me back up and say Lord Gabriel. And, he kind of, visually resembles me, kind of short, kind of stocky, Mediterranean looking, dark hair, bearded guy. And then I started thinking like, well, who would James be? Who does he mostly resemble? I think it's Matt, James. I think you resemble Matt more so than any other character in this show. I was thinking either Maxim or Matt.
I was thinking you'd say I was a gray man and I was going to be really offended.
Hell no. Is that how you see yourself, as a gray man?
I guess so. I'm a little gray man, I've had my blood frozen and now I'm just running around for this spider lady.
Nope. You're Matt in my eyes. And in this scene, you're laying here. Your mind is being healed by Rima. You remember Rima from last season? She was the yellow healer from Falm that we thought died. I thought she died, but she got healed apparently by another yellow. She's here trying to work with Matt, and they drop this big spool on us here, letting us know that
they drop it as this. You said it like Italian. You were like, I drop it in this.
Even though they can like heal, we saw last episode, like Leandrin gets stabbed twice through the guts, but then she's healed just fine. Rima here is telling us, well, we can't heal the mind. That's a different beast. She's saying that's a little harder to deal with, so we can't help Matt here. So yeah.
In regards to that, have you still been listening to Sweaty Time Pro Wrestling?
I listened to the most recent episode, yes.
Okay, you listened to the one that came out today?
No. I guess the one that came out last week.
Okay, well, there is a big debate on Prince Puma. This is a wrestling show, Lucha Underground, that we're discussing. Mm-hmm. Prince Puma, he got killed in storyline and then was brought back from the dead by, I believe, Vampiro. And now he has like that madness. He has these voices in his head going crazy.
Right.
I have been saying, because Sean's been saying, hey, he needs to go to therapy to get, those under control. I'm like, no, if he was killed by magic, then brought back by magic, magic should be able to heal those better than any therapy would. This is a big blow for my argument, which we were yelling and screaming at it like for comedic purposes. Sure. But it was a maybe 7 minutes, not scream fest, but like we went back and forth at it. I hope he doesn't listen to this, but I will be bringing this up next week to be like, yeah, at least in Wheel of Time magic, not the same. But maybe I'll get Lil Corey or Joe on and they'll say, oh, well, this magic in D&D would be able to clear that up real quick.
Here's something that's a counterpoint that you can use as your defense. We find out, we're always talking about things ahead of time. That's fine. It's the horn, Matt blowing the horn, that is causing a lot of this stuff that's happening in his head. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's not magic that can heal him. Maybe it's the horn itself. Maybe that object has to be the thing that heals him. So all magic, right. Even though it's a magical horn, it's not, you know what I mean? It's kind of two different things. Like, so tell Sean that. In
the sense of like specific types of magic can't heal you. Or let's go Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 8, when you cast a healing spell on someone, that heals them. But if you cast a healing spell on an undead creature, that does damage to them. So maybe it's just you need to find the right kind of magic to heal the brain. Or when a specific curse is happening, you need to find the specific kind of magic to lift that curse.
Right. Well, Matt is looking for a specific person to help him. Like he's pointing at Nynaeve, like, you, Nynaeve, only you can help me. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Also, I'll tell Sean with the curses thing, I'm reading this hentai book where like it's fantasy and I'm loving it. It's an actual story, unlike other hentai books where it's just like, how do we make them have sex?
Right.
Like there's been there's been one sex happening so far, but the rest of it's just he's living out life and there's sex happening around him. But there's a curse and you have to have specific kind of magic to lift this curse. So yeah, Sean, your argument is null and void now.
And Sean listens to Sweet Child of Time now. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Sweet Child of Time is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is the way we record Sweet Child of Time. We hook up with our guests via video and we record it on audio. Recently, we've been doing video podcasts with the cast of Time Bandits. It's easy using Zencastr. You can record video or audio. You can also edit your podcast or your video via Zencastr. Join Zencastr using my promo code Sweet Child of Time and you can get 30% off Zencastr. If you're ready to start your podcast, it's time to share your story. Share it with Zencastr. That promo code once again, Sweet Child of Time at Zencastr.com. We'll head over to Swan and Morgase. They're in the hall and clearly playing politics. They just had their little sparring match in the hall in front of everybody. Well, now they're pretty much behind closed doors and they're being a little more honest with each other. They're both playing each other, but the way they're playing each other, the end game is exactly the same. They both want Elaine to go through the rings and get her accepted ring. So clearly they have an alliance, but they're trying to do so in opposition of one another, which is interesting. This is where Nynaeve gets mad at Elaine. Is that at this point here where Elaine doesn't want to go, but Morgase insists that Elaine has to go. So eventually Nynaeve is like really pissed off at Elaine because Elaine is kind of like, yeah, mommy said I got to go, so I'm going to go. So that pissed Nynaeve off.
As it should.
Yeah. Yep. I didn't write that note down, so I hope that scene doesn't come up later. But if it does, I already said it.
I think it comes up like here and maybe in congruity with the next scene, but like it's fine.
Okay. Well, the next scene is Rand and Lan. They're training and their swords are super noisy. They got these really slinky swords that make a lot of noise. And Moraine's got that hat. Like these are the two things I took from this scene is Moraine's hat and the loud swords, basically.
You've seen Studio Ghibli movies, right?
I don't know what that is, no.
Oh, like Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, things of that ilk, or you've at least seen...
I'm familiar. My niece is into those things, I think.
Okay, there's so often when Moraine is just dressed fashionably like they do in Studio Ghibli movies. So if you've never seen this show, but you love Studio Ghibli, give it a try, because you'll be like, yeah, man, she looks like she could be in Howl's Moving Castle, or... I'm trying to think of ones that aren't Howl's Moving. Spirited or not Spirited Away. You know what I mean. Ponyo.
I mean, she looks like a rich lady on vacation. Like, that's the kind of hat she's wearing. That's the vibe I get, is that she's, like, lofty. She's a lofty lady.
I'm seeing her as more of just, like, a well-to-do person in the sense, like, hey, I do work, but I don't worry about money. And I'm in the country, just having a nice time. This is the weekend. I'm out picking flowers on a mountaintop.
Yeah, but she's got some underlying currents within her, though. She's not all peaceful.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I see her, and that's what her outfit reveals. I know she has inner turmoil. The Dark One is back.
Well, I was just trying to seg into my next sentence, so that was my attempt.
Okay.
She's talking to Egwene, and she's talking about the bruises that are on Egwene's neck. And she says they're not from Rand. So we're going to kind of put a question mark there. That's kind of odd. Like, what do you think about those bruises on Egwene's neck that Moraine healed, but now they're right back there again?
Well, we did see that he had choked her a little bit, or at least one of the mirror ones choked her. But I think because she is still so traumatized, maybe she just doesn't want to talk about anything on her neck because she's like, well, I'd rather just forget about it than process it.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. She does kind of blow it off. You're right.
Or she's like, oh, Rand sometimes gets, crazy in his sleep.
That's what I was thinking too, but he doesn't strike me as such. He doesn't strike me as he would ever hurt Egwene.
But didn't he? He stabbed her, or was that a mirror person?
That was the mirror person.
Okay, then maybe she's like, still... If your wife, even though it's a mirror wife of yours, were to pick you up and stab you, that's still baked into your head of like, wow, if my wife were to stab me, I know what that's like now.
Yeah, you don't really know where to turn for comfort because the person that you turn to for comfort just try to kill you. Yeah, that makes total sense.
I've had that with dreams where I have a dream where someone's really mean to me and I wake up and for maybe like the next 3 hours, I'm still like, wow, that person's so mean to me.
Yep, perception. I do the same thing, man. Avienda does it too, man. She's disdainful of wetlanders. She's talking all about her prophecy and talking about the Karakarn, how they're going to save and destroy the Aiel. She basically talks like Bible verses. She doesn't talk like a normal person. We'll see if like the rest, I mean, the Aiel all seem to have this manner of speech. Mm-hmm. Definitely not chill, but definitely giving us a lot of information here about the Aiel, which is cool. Yeah. Did you have anything about that before I move back on to Perrin?
Nope, I'm ready for Perrin.
All right. They make their big arrival. I mean, they're sticking out like a sore thumb. You got this guy with a big afro. You have an Ogier. You got two Aiel with spears sticking out their backs. And then you got Egwene's mom, Mrs. Alvear, like, oh, you guys should kind of keep a low profile. I think it's a bit late for that. Like, yeah. Like they're the most interesting thing to look at in this village currently. But they duck into the blacksmith area. That's kind of like a real lucky move because Perrin goes into the blacksmith area where he used to work, has a little daydream about when he and Layla had their tragic ending. And while they're all kind of hidden, tucked away inside the blacksmith booth is when the white cloaks come clomping by. So really lucky move there that they didn't get spotted by the White Cloaks. We learned the White Cloaks are there because they're protecting the two rivers currently. They're like policing the area from Trollocs because Trollocs have been attacking.
I mean, that's not why they're there.
Oh, well, right. They're staying there because of the Trolloc attack. They came there because of Perrin Ibarra, because he killed one of their leaders, Bornhald. And yeah, they're after their Perrin. They're going after Perrin and Perrin's friends and their families. Mm-hmm. So they're all kind of in hiding right now. And speaking of in hiding, we got Alanna and Maxim that we talked about earlier. They're in Two Rivers as well for an unknown reason. Like, they're being really dodgy about questions. Loyal asks them, like, what happened to your shoulder, Aes Sedai? And she just kind of takes a couple beats before she just simply says Trollocs. So I think that was a little bit of Aes Sedai trickery right there, where like there was more to that story than she said, I believe. Mm-hmm. But yeah, their faces are painted. Like, if you notice that Alanna and Maxim have their faces painted, did you notice that?
Yeah.
Did you think anything of that? Because I thought that was interesting. I've never seen that before on them.
I mean, yeah, but I'll figure it out later.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, anything else with Perrin in the crew? Because we're like jumping back and forth. We're just going in sequential order of the show here.
Egwene's mom is the lady who hid them, correct?
Yes.
She was like, oh my God, it's so crazy seeing you here, Perrin. And it's like, yeah, imagine seeing me in my hometown. Like, come on.
Imagine seeing me when like the White Cloaks are here looking for me as well and asking questions about me. And then here I come. Like, yeah, it seems like he should be on the forefront of everybody's mind. Not a huge surprise. But maybe she's surprised by, like, you know, his beard. He's grown his hair out now and he's taller than he used to be. So maybe that's a surprise to her as well. Like, oh, you're a man now, Perrin.
And he's got those freaky eyes now.
Oh, yeah. I take that for granted. People probably do notice that. That's probably the first thing they notice. And I've just kind of like taken it as part of his character. But yeah, nobody walks around with yellow eyes like that except for him. And that other dude that we met, like with the dreadlocks, Elias, has those yellow eyes too. We haven't seen him in a while. I don't remember if he passed away or not, actually, now that I think about Elias.
I'm not sure. I don't remember. But do you think, is that visual effects or do they have contacts in Perrin?
I believe it's contacts because when they show behind the scenes stuff, he still has them in. So
hell yeah.
They wouldn't do that for behind the scenes crap. Yeah, we're going to move back over to Morgase and Elydia. Now we got the two of, this is Morgase and Elydia, her Aes Sedai advisor, and they're doing their own little whispering in the hall. And it seems pretty clear that they're not dark friends. They're not Black Aja, but they're definitely not exactly good guys either. They're both trying to get answers from different people using different angles. Like, Elydia is trying to like get in with the Aes Sedai and get their angles, and the Queen is trying to talk to all the higher ups and get their angles. They're trying to get their stories together. Mm-hmm. Seems conniving to me. Would you have any thoughts about these ladies?
It just seems like they're trying to get the full story. And if they're positing or positioning, I should say, or they just are the biggest power within this area, they're like, well, we need to know what's going on so we can be prepared, so we can always be the strongest and the best and the ruler of this area. So if your princess is in danger, you're like, okay, we got to figure out what's going on. And while our princess is in danger, there's clearly is something going on, and we need to figure this out so we can squash it real quick.
And especially because she got word that Elaine was kidnapped, and she keeps bringing that up, like she's pissed off about that, obviously. Yeah. And she like wants to keep her, her crown, her throne safe and keep Elaine safe.
And since the Amarito Sea, she said, also, guys, I know I say this stuff wrong. I guess, if you're picking up from just season 3, the Amarillo Sea, since she revealed that there are dark friends amongst them in the tower, they're like, oh, wow, if she revealed that to me, clearly it is worse than what it is. Like, it makes sense. Like, hey, I don't want my daughter being here. She's either going to get killed or going to become a dark friend. That's what you'd be thinking. And then our lineage is done. And then we end up finding out that the lineage is already in trouble because the people in the military aren't really liking what's going on. And hey, maybe they suspect dark friends are within their populace and their military. So they're like, well, we need to figure out what's going on in the White Tower so we can also have a better understanding of what's going on in our own community.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but Morgase is kind of right in wanting to get Elaine out of there because like this next scene, we see like another little alliance happening with Viren, Leanne, and Suwan. They have their own little crew and they have their own little plan. And they're using Min as a seer to like, you know, see the future of the tower. And it's clear that in the tower, there's going to be death. There's going to be another battle that's going to happen in the future in the tower. So I almost like agree with Morgase, like, yeah, get everybody out of there because people are going to be dying here soon.
And I got to say something about Min's outfit. One, like, yeah, let's just keep making them hotter, guys. But two, like this is not a fantasy setting wardrobe. Like this, I could go to a fancy dinner and see a woman in this outfit and I'd be like, wow, they are rich as hell. Like this also doesn't scream, wow, she works for the Aes Sedai. No, it looks like she's a businessman.
She does.
Businessman. Like a
businessman.
Like, yeah, I don't know why everyone was like, yeah, she's a servant here. It's like, no, she's wealthy, isn't she?
I mean, it looks to me like maybe she has like a retro outfit going on, like where she's dressing like the old days when like, because, you know, we saw the old days back in the golden time. The name escapes me, where everybody dressed all fancy and they had like, you know, shuttles that they were flying through the sky. It looked like she was dressed for that time more than anything else.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, she's rocking and rolling there with that outfit. And yeah, she's letting them know about the bad stuff happening in the tower. And then eventually, oh no, I'm sorry. I was trying to get ahead of myself. I'm putting a kibosh on that. Anything else with Min and those ladies before I talk about Matt some?
Nope.
Okay, Matt. Showing off that horn to a novice. He shows his horn to the novice, and the novice seems like she's enjoying Matt's company until they hear that the two boys, Galad and Gawain, the princes, are having a sparring match in the yard, having a scrimmage, I guess you would say, putting on a show for the ladies. So this is the practice yard. If you remember season 1, this is like the warders' practice yard where like the ladies always watch the warders and like, oh, I like him. I like him. Everybody likes these guys. Apparently, this reminded me of like a CW scene because we got these shirtless, hot people. We actually hear audible gasps from ladies going, ooh.
Yeah. They blow a kiss. Yeah. And they go, huh, my never. And they faint. That didn't happen.
I mean, it might as well have. This was a real comedic scene to me and to Matt as well. Matt was not impressed.
Yeah. Matt goes up to all these swords, tries to pick one up, and they just all fall over. Then he like takes one. He's like sitting next to Elaine and Nynaeve. Is that her name? No.
Nynaeve and Elaine, yeah.
Okay, all right. I was like, Elaine is a normal name. Why is it in here? Also, like Matrum, that's his full name?
Yeah.
These fantasy fuckers, okay? So he goes and he's like, this isn't my thing. Like, who's into this? And then Nynaeve says, I think everyone's into this kind of thing, Matt. And I was like, wowzers, yeah. Because then you look at everyone and they're like, oh.
Including Nynaeve, who you think would be straight-laced, but nope, she digs it too. He calls them tossers. That's what I like about it.
But Nynaeve is also like, what they're doing is cool, but like these people fucking blow.
Yeah. You definitely get that vibe.
And she says, like, no offense to you, Elaine. And she's like, hey, you want to know what? I understand. But this is also coming from someone who is dating a literal king right now.
Yeah, there's nobody can point the finger at anybody else at this point. There's too much going on. As they're watching, pretty much right when the match ends, I think it's Gawain who wins eventually, if anybody's keeping score. Nynaeve and Elaine are called to Swan, and they're having a meeting with her, and she decides that they're the only two people in the whole tower that she can trust. The reason that she can trust them is because they were kidnapped by the Dark Friends, and they were, almost killed by them, so obviously they're not Dark Friends. So she wants them to be her hounds, is what she calls them, and wants to hunt out the Black Aja within the tower. This is where Elaine is like, yeah, that sounds cool, but mommy said I have to go home. I'm getting the ring tonight.
Yeah.
And this is when Nynaeve gets pissed off.
Yeah. I did like when Nynaeve said, you tell us not to trust anyone. How can we trust you? And Suwain says, that's the exact kind of thinking I want you to have. So that, like, I can trust you now.
Yeah, I like that logic too. It makes perfect sense to me. And yeah, so I apologize. I said the scene too early, but we're going back to Perrin. He's in the attics with the others. And I think I might have talked about this scene earlier. This is when we're talking about the hurt shoulder and the Aes Sedai loophole. Yeah, we've already talked about this scene. So I'm going to move back on to Egwene's dreams about Rhenna. So every night when they go to bed, it seems like Rand is having these nice, pleasant dreams about Selene. He won't even cheat on Egwene in his dreams, which is kind of cool. It says something about his character. But every night, it seems like Egwene is having these nightmares about Rhenna torturing her every single night. And I know somebody who's the master of dreams, who's a character in this show. So I think that they might be responsible. Yes, Freddy Krueger is lurking about in the corners, making this happen to Egwene. So yeah, it seemed clear to me on second viewing, not first viewing, that it was Lanfear that was causing these bad dreams in Egwene. Did you catch that on your first viewing?
I caught that now it's happening, but it didn't pop into my head until now of, oh, this has been her the entire time doing this.
Right. I was asking about the bruises earlier, and I was going to ask you again now. I'm kind of getting the feeling that those bruises might be coming from Lanfear.
Yeah.
In her dreams when she's doing this somehow. Because like Egwene has ties to this strange dream world. And even when Lanfear, disappears out of Egwene's dream, she kind of fades away. And it seems like her dream is now over. And now it's like, okay, now you can have your own dream, Egwene. Mm-hmm. Egwene gets stuck in somebody else's dream. And she dreams about this strange Aiel woman in the desert.
Wait, that's someone else's dream?
Well, the woman says you're not supposed to be here. And then she, makes Egwene leave.
I took that as it's prophetic in the sense that you are about to come here, but you're not supposed to be here in the sense of the Aiel wasteland or whatever it's called. You're not supposed to be there. But what you're saying also makes sense and probably makes more sense.
I think we're both right. I think we are both correct is what it turns out to be. So she meets that other woman, snaps to, and then we're snapping to back to Matt. He is listening to Galad and Gawain reap the rewards of their show, and they're both banging. Novices, I suppose, possibly accepted, maybe even Aes Sedai, I don't know. And Matt's stuck in the middle, having to listen to their grunts of pleasure. Min comes in basically she comes in to tell him that Siuan needs to see him, but initially, she's coming in to kind of feel it out, maybe apologize to Matt, maybe kind of like, hey, are we cool? And it seems pretty clear that Matt's still mad at Min.
Yeah.
Because, last season, Min sold him out to Lanfear. No, not to Lanfear, to Ishmael. Ishmael is who she sold him out to. And so he's still, keeping some grudge against that. Just like, somebody coming to town and not dropping in. You're gonna hold that grudge.
Yeah.
So yeah, Min is really there to get Matt to come see Siuan, and Siuan meets with Matt specifically about the Horn of Valyr. And this is where we really learn about the Horn of Valyr, the stuff that was kind of hinted at before, but she makes it very clear. You've blown the horn now, Matt. You are the horn blower, but if somebody kills you and then they blow the horn, then they are the horn blower. So anybody who might want this horn for power of summoning a dead army, which is like a huge, powerful artifact, all they got to do is kill you and they got it. Matt's like, oh, okay, you keep it here in the tower where everything is safe. It seemed like he agreed to that pretty quickly, but I'll just explain that in this world, the White Tower is where they keep magic artifacts safe.
Yeah.
So Matt is 100% sure that it's safe here.
I mean, unless some dark friends come in and, find the 13th hole or whatever it's called.
That would never happen last episode, would it? All right, we're going to stick in the tower here. It's nighttime. Egwene is trying on her crown, seeing how she looks as the queen.
You guys got to get comfortable crowns. That looks so uncomfortable. There's just a lot of rigid edges and beads to just put. No, make it comfy.
James, let me tell you about the crown of kings and how the crown is not supposed to sit on your head comfortably. It's supposed to be a heavy burden that you have to bear, and it might hurt and it might have pain, but that's the sacrifice that you make to wear the crown, James.
Okay, just like the crown of thorns.
Exactly.
He's the king of kings.
So Gabriel comes in, catches her looking at herself in the mirror, doing that thing. That's happened to me before. I was in my room as a teenager, pretending like I was playing guitar in front of the mirror, and my sister walked in on me, and she laughed at me for like a week after that. And it was awful. So yeah, Elaine's not quite as embarrassed as I was, but even so, she and Gabriel are pals, right? They seem like they're, I don't know, like they have almost like a sibling kind of relationship, as opposed to like, this is the guy that's like sleeping with my mom.
I think like uncle relationships more like it.
Well, that would make more sense. I mean, definitely not like a father-daughter, because they drank together and they tell each other secrets like about the mother. And that's something that usually doesn't happen in that situation.
Unless it's stepdad's at like an older age. Like this is kind of how Nicole and her stepdad act. Like, yeah. So I do like that.
Okay.
This man, I thought he seemed like he was going to be like an evil dark friend, or he was going to be the one kind of trying to manipulate this situation, but he's clearly not. And I like this character.
I like his little earpiece. He has that. I don't know the purpose of that thing he wears on his ear.
To be fancy.
To be fancy, yeah. But I mean, it has to serve. I mean, I guess like the crown, it doesn't serve any purpose. He can't wear a crown. He's the prince consort. So I guess he has to wear something to adorn himself. It just seems silly to me. I don't know. I didn't like it. Like an earring, like a giant earring or something.
I think a crown's silly, as I just said.
Okay, well, we're in agreement, I suppose. I don't know why I'm arguing. What am I doing here? The queen comes in here and she excuses Gabriel. So they have a little mother-daughter talk here. And she stands up to mom. She's like, I'm going to be the first Aes Sedai queen. I'm going to go through those towers. I'm going to go through those rings and get that ring, but I'm going to stay here and do my thing. And eventually Morgase comes around and they give hugs all around. But this is the conversation that I thought that you had picked up some information from, because they talk about the missing queen, Tigraine. They talk about Elaine's missing aunt, who was supposed to be the queen that went missing. And they allude to that in this episode. And I wasn't sure if that's what you were referring to earlier.
No, I didn't pick up. I didn't hear that at all.
Okay. Well, maybe it's a rewatch for you. Just rewatch one of these last scenes and see some of the dialogue. Well, I'm just telling you right now, they talk about how Morgase had a sister who walked away from the crown and did not want to be part of royalty. And they haven't seen her since.
So there's a chance that the queen and princess right now are also of Aiel descendancies?
I mean, they all have red hair.
Yeah.
So that's like usually like the telltale sign. It seems that way. It does seem that way, but it's not explicitly stated at this point.
Okay.
But yeah, it absolutely seems that way to me too. Like Rand, Elaine, Morgase, all these redheaded people. Yeah, they seem like they have some Aiel blood in them.
All right. Did the author of this, did he have red hair?
I have no idea, actually.
Okay, he better not have, because then it's like, okay, this seems like a self-insert to be like, yes, people with red hair are magical and so strong.
So like Rand is a Mary Sue is what you're saying. We're afraid that's the case in this book. Robert Jordan always wore a hat. He had the big goofy, just like Moraine. He had a big goofy hat he always wore. So you couldn't see what color hair he had.
It looks like he has brown hair, so, or it's, very dark red. But I don't think he had red hair. Okay.
All right. Next scene is when we get Rand and Moraine, and this is when we get like a little bit of that flash of the Moraine angst. She's not liking the fact that he's training with swords instead of magic. He's like, well, the sword feels good in my hands. It's kind of like the analog versus digital thing. It's like Rand is like, yeah, I like the analog sound. I like vinyl. It sounds better than MP3s. I just prefer it. And he explains his side of the thing when the man channels, he explains it like a heroin addiction in a way. Like he loves it, but it's like bitter and it fills his stomach with filth is what he says. And even Moraine is like, no, that's nothing like what mine is like. That sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely some animosity between the two of them here. And they're not exactly seeing eye to eye is the vibe that I got. How about you?
Eye to Sedai. There we go.
Why didn't I say that? That's great. Thank you. Back at the tower, we're saying goodbye to the whole royalty gang. Not everyone. Elaine, of course, is going to stay because she stood up to her mom. But mom is leaving, and she threatens Suan on the way out the door, which is probably not a good idea. And the boys are deciding to stay. Galad and Gawain, they're going to stay on as warders. And Elydia is staying. The Red Aes Sedai is going to stay. And I got the sense that they are all staying explicitly because Elaine is staying.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because Suan was like, but you need a Red advisor at Andor. And she's like, well, she's better useful here. So that makes me think that Elydia is going to be looking after Elaine and making sure that she's safe or whatever. Mm-hmm. Probably by any means necessary by the looks of her, because she seems like a vicious Aes Sedai to me.
Yeah, same as being a warder. Like, they're obviously setting up like these will be Elaine's warders, which would that be weird?
No, I don't think it's common, but I don't think it'd be weird either, because warder doesn't mean lover. It just means protector.
But to have this like psychic connection with my sister, I'd be like, ugh, I don't want that.
I mean, maybe I don't know. I just finished watching a movie, a time travel movie, and it was based around a brother and sister who got caught like in this time loop.
Okay.
And I really liked the aspect of the brother and sister because you didn't have to worry about any romantic stuff happening.
Yeah.
And they could be 100% themselves around each other and they would accept each other regardless. So it almost seems like a warder would almost be beneficial, having like your sibling as a warder, perhaps.
Yeah, but then it's like, hey, you got drunk and fooled around and you forgot to cut the connection. Come on,
that would be
man.
super gross. Dude.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I do like the queen, not the queen, the Amarillan seat says, in regards to the princess staying, she goes, I'm not sure the novices will ever recover. And I'm like, yeah, okay. It's a horny season, guys.
It is. They're probably going to be taking turns like throughout that tower. They got their pick of the litter. Everybody loves these guys. Like they're supposed to be like the hottest guys in the world, basically. Like they're the supermodels of this world. I'm not seeing that. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I see it. But also they are the princes of, at least in this area, the largest country.
Yeah. So when you have like the popular support behind your back and you have like the populace telling you something, then the average person agrees with that.
Yeah.
Like if everybody says, the latest Lady Gaga album is the best album of the year, everybody's going to hear that and go, oh yeah, I guess it is. I agree. Because it is a good album, y'all. It's great. Okay, that's our last scene from the tower. We're waving bye-bye to everybody, and Suan and Morgase are having harsh words. Now our last scene, we got Rand and the crew, and they're arriving at the Threefold Land, or the Aiel Waste, if you prefer. The Aiel don't like it when people call it the Aiel Waste, but they themselves call it the Aiel Waste. It's one of those kind of deals. They would prefer it if you're an outsider, if you would call it the Threefold Land. So that's just a little backup for you there.
Okay.
The Aiel were waiting for them I wrote down the Aiel were waiting for them /him, because it seems like perhaps when we see the Aiel woman come out and she's talking, it's like, oh, that's the woman from the dreams. She saw Egwene coming, so that's what's up. But no, she saw a prophecy of Rand coming. She was waiting for Rand. So she greets Rand with words of prophecy. He's going to come from the west, of the blood, but not raised by the blood. He's going to tie us with bonds that we cannot break. He's going to lead us home, and he's going to destroy us. This woman is called Bear, not Bane, but Bear, and her man is called Ruark. And we're going to probably be seeing a lot more of those in the future.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's the prophecy. Like Egwene dreamt it, and now she's there. They dreamt Rand. Now he's here. Cut to credits. We're done with episode 2 here, James. Any thoughts?
Just that the show's good.
The show remains good. And I was telling James off air earlier that, and I'll remind everybody, today, as of recording, it's March 25th, and James has just seen episode 2. In our world here, we've saw episode 4 last week, and I cannot wait to have that discussion with James. I almost think we should put it on video so we can watch him react to this. But next episode, we'll be talking about episode 3, because we can't get to 4 without 3. So next episode will be episode 3 of Wheel of Time. Until then, I don't really have any plugs this week other than always supporting James at Marshland Media. How about yourself, James?
Hey guys, head over to patreon.com/MLM pod, wherein I think probably 2 or 3 weeks from now, I'll be doing a watch along of episode 4 of Wheel of Time.
Yay, it happened right here, folks.
I don't know if there will be a video component because screw video, 2 thumbs down to it. Yeah. But for sure, the audio will be there. I will make sure this happens. Steve, next episode, remind me that I will have to do that. And I will probably watch it to do the watch along and then later on before we record, watch it again to take notes.
I'm like all excited about this, and James is going to watch and be like, it was another episode. It was fine.
Well, no, the first episode I was blown away by. I was like, holy shit. And then this is just, we're building to something, but there was still stuff that I very much enjoyed in it.
Yeah, I'm glad we're doing this journey. I really hope it's going to get renewed for season 4. Today, in about 2 hours, Rosamond Pike is doing a live stream where she has an announcement to make. So I'm hoping it has something to do with Wheel of Time season 4. We'll see. But yeah, until then, we're going to sign off here. And so I hope that James and all the listeners always find those water and shade and shoes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, golden shower.